We are going to be doing some group talking today, and when I want you to come back together, I'm going to raise my hand, and then whoever sees me raising my hand, I want you to raise your hand, which then if we had a group of 30 in here, it would be much easier for everybody to see, okay, you know, it's time that we need to be quiet. Finish your sentence and be quiet. This is another strategy, raising hands, because boys' best sense is sight. So you're looking at making, giving signals other than verbal signals. So if you think about it, if you've ever lived by a train or an airport, something like that, and you first move there, initially the noise is overwhelming, and then after a while you don't hear it anymore. Think about what you say to your kids all the time about sit down, be quiet, put your pencil away. Do you have that in your backpack? They actually do not hear some of those words anymore because they've heard it so often. So if you can figure out some kind of signals to use sometimes that works, so that's what we're going to do is raise our hands. And I suggest that some of these strategies you suggest to your whole school. So if you're using the hand raising in your room, and they're using it in music, and they're using it in art, and they're using it on the playground, and they're using it in the auditorium, you can see that when the principal comes in and raises their hand, everybody else raises their hand, and you get quiet. So these are the kinds of strategies I'm going to talk about today, and they're not rocket science. They're just something to think about, and I'm going to try to give you the reasoning why. So the first one I talked about was the brain, and what stimulates the brain is novelty. The second one was about boys' best sense is sight. So a lot of things you're going to want to do has to do with employing that particular strategy. So let's take a look at this directive. Mission, go to the Gap, buy a pair of pants. And we have a female that does it, and we have a male that does it. So some people will say, well, yeah, that's about right. That's about how it happens. But you know, there are situations where there are men that like to shop and women that don't like to shop. But we talk about the 80-20% rule, okay? So that if I had 100 females, probably 80 of them would like to shop, 20 wouldn't. If I had 100 males, about 20 of them would not like, 80 of them would not like to shop and 20 would. So I don't want to include everybody in this. But I want to tell you why this is important. This is important because we have gray and white matter in our brains. And the gray matter is much more about focus. It's much more active in boys than girls. Okay? Have you noticed in your classrooms, you're giving the directions and boys just want to get started, right? They don't want to wait till you even finish the directions. And so girls, on the other hand, they want to make sure that they're doing it right. So they say, do you want it in blue ink or black ink? Do you want it double-spaced or single-spaced? You know, that sort of thing. So you get a lot more checking things out with girls, generally, than you do with boys because they're focused on what's happening. This is the 80-20% rule. There are about 20% of males that we call bridge brain. And so what that means is that they are totally male, but their brain tends to think more female, which means they use more words. They might be much more relational. So somebody who is a high school language arts teacher male may be a bridge brain. Somebody that's a male minister. Somebody that's a male social worker. Do you see what I'm saying? Because female brains are more relational than men's are usually. And so if you're a bridge brain male, you may think and relate to people more like a female. On the other hand, with females, if they're a bridge brain, they tend to be more assertive and aggressive. So there would probably be a firewoman, a policewoman, a prosecuting attorney, those kinds of people which really have to be assertive and aggressive and be risk-taking and all that sort of thing, might be a bridge brain female. So as you're looking at your students in your classroom, I don't want you to, first of all, think, okay, this strategy is just for boys, and this strategy is just for girls, because you have this crossover. You have to look at each child as an individual. So that's why we say every brain is an individual as a fingerprint, and everybody is unique. We do get criticized for some people saying that's stereotypic of what I'm saying, but I'm trying to make that clear. It may sound that way, but I always know there are exceptions to that particular rule.